to this educational presentation and demonstration. We're going to be featuring some tools and techniques from Jatai: feather razors, feather switchblade shears, artist club razors, nape and body razors, hair cutting and shaving, all the fundamental skills you need to deliver world-class service, world-class hair cutting, and world-class experiences for your customers. Walt, thanks for being here today. Let's get started. Walt's our model for today, and what we're going to be doing is a contemporary, partially disconnected men's haircut. We're going to be undercutting a little bit through the sides. We'll be using our feather razors with both standard and texture blades to break up and create some texture through the top of the haircut. Then we're going to come in first and share a lining and edging service using Jatai shave products and Jatai razors and blades. Then we'll go in and demonstrate some face shaving, and we'll even have a conversation about mustache grooming, mustache options, and how to really set your client apart and set yourself apart as a professional in the beauty and barber industry. All right, let's get started. We're going to start with Blade Glide Plus, better than water for maintaining even and consistent hydration, great for slip and slide with scissors and razors, and taking good care of hair. So we're going to start out by dampening the hair, especially at the point at which we want to segregate from the interior to the exterior. So we're going to strike a line where we want to create our disconnection. The area above the line will be left longer to overhang slightly. The area below the line will be where we place our classic taper. Okay, it's time to taper. We're going to come in from low to high, coming in with the leading edge of the blade and moving back to the tail edge of the blade. We call that toe to heel cutting. There's a C-shaped or a curving motion as we move up and out and up and out to really emphasize the tapered nature of that haircut. That's really going to create a strong visual element through the perimeter. Notice behind the ear, I fold the ear down out of the way and I just reach up and behind it like that. And when you do that, follow the ear, don't follow the hairline. If you follow the ear, you won't cut up too high, compromising our ability to create that taper. Tip the client to the side just a little bit, and again, notice it's always two-handed. I've got my hand underneath the clipper for balance, stability, and control as I continue to execute that C-shaped or curving motion, and I'm going to work moving a little bit lower as I come towards the center back. I'm going to work from Walt's right side to the center back, and when I get to the center back, I'm going to stop. I stayed a little bit lower. This is my blending zone as I blend up into my longer top. We'll create awesome texture in the top shortly, but we don't want to cut it till we're sure we don't need it. Starting over where I left off and heading back in the opposite direction, I've gone shorter by 2 blades to gently taper in the bottom edge. If I only cut the perimeter of the haircut with 1 blade, even with my C-shaped or curving motion, it isn't truly tapered, it's more all one length moving up the head. So by switching to a slightly shorter blade, and notice I tip the clipper out as I come around the ear like that to create a beautiful flare in the taper around the head. Walt's got nice density of hair that really shows off tapering very well. I think that's like why he likes to wear his hair this way. It really showcases a beautiful haircut. Now it's time to blend. We're going to blend up into the longer hair just before we get to the overhang that will be the distinct characteristic of this haircut. Notice we look for the guide in the leading edge of our comb as we blend and taper up off the top of that zone. Be particularly conscious of coming around the front corner. The head is flat, curving into the interior, and flat, curving into the forehead. And if you don't come onto that front corner just a bit, when you look at them from the front, there'll be a heavy spot right there. So we want to make sure not only have we tapered on a vertical axis, but we've also tapered back along a horizontal axis for visual impact. We're going to continue around the back of the head, chin down just a little bit, and we'll come off the top of this tapered perimeter. Now at the back of the head here, things are going to blend all the way up. At the sides of the head was where we were looking to create that disconnection. Some of us enjoy tapering clipper over comb. Others of us really prefer shear point tapering. And the Feather Switchblade 5.5 is a fabulous tool for very traditional shear point tapering. Notice, unlike traditional shear over comb, where the object of the game is to maintain parallel positioning between the non-moving blade and the spine of the comb, shear point tapering has us moving outward like that. We're coming in just with the points of the shears, and switchblade shears are sharp all the way to that safety rounded tip. Won't cut you, but does a beautiful job of tapering. And notice I come in. It's a form of point cutting, not dissimilar to point cutting that we may do in our fingers, but utilizing our comb and using shear point tapering is a beautiful way to blend off haircuts, and you can't beat the classic artistry that is good shear over comb tapering in this way. The Feather Switchblade 5.5 is a perfect tool for this kind of classic work. When we're happy with our tapering on this side of the head, you know the saying in the haircutting business, repeat on the opposite side. So we're going to take out the grip clip, and notice this is where we start to develop the disconnect and the overhang, and we're going to do the same thing now on the opposite side of the head. We're going to strike our horizontal line, we're going to separate the interior from the exterior, and we're going to taper through this side of the head just like we did on the client's right. Again, onto the opposite side, blade glide instead of water to moisturize, hydrate the hair, and add some maneuverability, well, manipulatability, if I can make up a big word. Just makes it easier to work with the hair, promotes slip and slide, all around great product to nourish the hair and make it easier to cut. Again, horizontal line to segregate interior from exterior, above and below where we wish to create that disconnection. And as we did last time, we're going to go in with a grip clip just to isolate things up top and keep them separated. We go back to our clipper, and again, tapering using our C-shaped or curving motion. The blade makes direct physical contact with the head. We call toe to heel cutting, toe to heel. We get in on the toe and get out onto the heel of the blade. That's the leading edge versus the back edge of the blade. It's a rocking motion that begins to create the tapered effect, short to long, as we transition up the head form. And again, one hand above and one hand below the tool for balance, stability, and control. Just some classic clipper work that will be fundamental to the shape we're creating for Walt's haircut. Again, we go two blades shorter to emphasize our tapered effect. And notice growth pattern or direction. Walt's hair beautifully folds into the center, giving us a nice natural taper. So at times we're going to work against the growth direction to really nicely lay that in. Once we go in with our razor later to do our cleanup work, that's going to be a beautiful neckline. If I was a client with a haircut like this, I'd walk around backwards. Over the top of the ear again. From this angle, the camera will pick up how much we pitch the blade out. I'm only using an area of the blade about the size of my fingertip as I come up and over the ear like that. I call that riding a gap. There's a large space at the top of the blade such that my finger can fit behind it. I'm not laying the blade flat to the head. Flat to the head will recut what I pre-cut. It'll really eliminate the tapered effect that we're shooting for here. In front of the ear, the two things we did last time is we tapered, we tightened up. Our C-shaped or curving motion was a big capital C before. Now it becomes more of a lowercase c. It almost becomes a flick of the wrist motion as opposed to a big scooping motion. Lastly, I moved to my clipper over comb blade. In this case, my number 1. The teeth are wider and deeper, so it feeds hair beautifully for classic clipper over comb work. And now I taper off of the top of the taper. And the rolling of the comb, notice we talked about the clipper moving through the C-shaped or curving motion. Now we talk about the top of the tips of the teeth tipped out towards me. I know that's a big mouthful, but the rolling of the comb, the top of the tips of the teeth tipped out towards my torso, really creates the rolling of the comb that is so fundamental to creating that taper. And because we're going to leave things longer in the top, I'm beginning to work my way down the head form as we follow the occipital bone, the widest point of the head or the curve of the head, into the perimeter of the haircut. Now, the grip clip is isolated to the area just in front of the ear, so the hair in through the crown falls and fills in here nicely. We'll address some of the bulk there when we do our texturing with our razor in a later phase of the haircut. But we're conscious of the fact that we are leaving some heaviness or some fullness in through here to accentuate the tightness and the depth of the taper. As we had done on the opposite side, a little bit of shear point tapering just to finesse the blend. Back to my switchblade 5.5 and my wide tooth comb, and we come in again with our shear point tapering. If I come in with traditional shear over comb, I have to be very conscious of leaving steps, lines, or marks in the taper, because texture is the answer to the question, why do we choose these tools? We have clippers, we have scissors, we have razors, but texture is typically the answer to the question, why do I pick one tool over the other for a particular finished effect? It's the unique textures that the various cutting tool choices create as a byproduct of their cutting action that give us fabulous options for creative expression in haircutting.